Hello, Linda Wlodyka, the current Beat Poet Laureate of Massachusetts. How are you doing?
Hi. Hi, Belinda, all the way from Texas.
Yeah. Linda, what does it mean to you to be a Beat Poet Laureate?
Well, it means a lot of things. I thought about this for the year I've held this position, and there's a very liberating thing or notion about it. I know I did write a lot of poetry that fell into like a beat type of poetry category in the past 5 years, but I didn't identify myself that way. I mean, many poets don't identify themselves, they just write.
Mhm.
So I feel like it's brought me opportunity, a lot of joy, a lot of reverence for other beat poets, including the ones that are from our early history, Ginsberg, Kerouac, and the several others that, were alive when they were alive. And I think, well, actually, Ginsberg's still alive, right?
Who?
So Ginsberg, Allen Ginsberg's still alive?
Oh,
No? Okay.
in
Okay.
spirit, for sure.
Yeah. So it's really a liberating thing because you can when you go to pick up your pen or get to your keyboard, you just write what you want. You don't feel like you have any walls or constraints because beat poetry is a very free form of writing and takes a little pressure off.
Well, you do believe in editing, I believe, though, right?
Oh no, yes. I actually meet with two women, live about an hour away from me, that are editors and we're journalists.
Mm.
So I give them some of my work. Yeah, because I want to stay in the confines of, grammar to some extent,
Mhm.
Um, but it's just that now we have this family. I mean, these people that are all beat poets that we can relate to now. So you learn a lot from each other, and that's important to me.
Mhm. Um, while you're a Beat Poet Laureate, do you plan any special poetry projects that include others, or have you thought of it yet? You got time?
Well, the things that have crossed my mind that I want to work on, and the things that are coming up. I live in a very rural area. It's not near a major city at all. So most poetry happenings in 25-mile radius of where I live tend to be seasonal. They tend to be people who are, feature poets that people know these people. Like it's not a far and wide thing where you can reach out and find the poets that might be 2 hours away. But in a different part of where I live, once I go 30, 40 miles, I find this whole family of poets that have embraced me for the last 15 years. So I tend to travel quite a distance to feature, but I'm really trying to work on venues here, bookshops, coffee shops, art galleries, to see if we could at least get, even if it's part time, even I know a lot of things don't run in the summer months, to at least have an open mic because I want to spread the love of to the younger generation, to others who may felt like me. Where do we go to share our poetry? And if you're not willing to drive an hour and a half like I do, are they just cloistered here somewhere and I'm not aware of it? So there's that. And then the National Beat Foundation, really, Debbie Tosin Codet is a big fan of Jack Kerouac. He was born in Lowell, Massachusetts. So Lowell, every year they have a festival in his honor, and that's coming up the 10th of October. She could not make it to that, even though she was invited for the first time because she has tickets to go somewhere with family. So she said, Linda, you live in Massachusetts. The event that they were talking about is a woman's panel, which will discuss Jack Kerouac's poetry, his life, any, ideas of how he wrote. I mean, I don't even know what the agenda exactly is, but I will go on, on Debbie's behalf and we'll be reading some of our poetry, but we'll mainly be talking about Jack Kerouac when we're talking about, I'll pick poems that I feel like I have something to say that would be, somehow marginally more than less, have something to do with any kind of, legacy he had. So there's two other women on this panel and the moderator, and I'm pretty excited to go, which is next month. So that's, I guess it's, I don't know, a project. It's an opportunity, which makes me happy.
Yeah, I noticed in your bio that you've done a few other things with poetry and groups. And tell me a little something about word, word times word or word X word. What is that?
They call it word by word, and
Word by word. Ah,
everybody goes, "Is this word X word?" So that's a common thing. Yeah, what that is, it's a community poetry group. So backing up a little, yes, there is poetry in my area, but the way that is operated is that they have a couple people who run it, and they have maybe every other month or so they have an event. They have a few more in the summer because they use the grounds of a museum, and they have it's programming. So in other words, it's not like an open mic or you walk in and several poets from the public realm come in and read their poetry. They have like they'll come up with ideas and they'll send it out to all the people who emails they have, which they have mine, and they'll say, we're going to be having this program. What we'd like you to do is write a poem or a verse or this many lines that follow, the idea of the programming. So it's very community based. They don't want people to feel as if they have to be established poets. You can go there with your 10 lines of whatever guideline they gave and read. So I love that they do that, but it's not exactly what I've attended in the past, which is kind of good because I have to, experience more things. But they're not looking for me to so-called get involved with them, nor are they looking for me to say, how about, going out on a limb and doing some open mics? That's not part of their mission. I've tried to do that gingerly, and it's not something they're interested in, but I do respect it because they at least have events, in my area. And it's nice to see new people go that don't know they can write poetry, but they certainly end up doing it because they're getting nudged by word, which is good.
so were all of the, I don't know if I read this correctly, but there are many bits put together to make one long poem, something like
Yes, yeah, yes, you're given a one word prompt and they're asking you to practice to make sure it doesn't take more than 30 seconds to read it. And about 75 people did their 30-second prompt, which is about 8, 9 lines, approximately. And we all read it one after another to make a continuous poem. And then it was published on their website. So the poem became this giant thing. And I had to start my poem with the last word of the one poet that stood next to me. And the poet on the opposite side of me started their poem with the last word of my poem, which, like I say, it's very short, like almost a stanza.
that?
So it got kind of crazy and wild at times because people go all over the place with poetry, but it made it very interesting. And
Yeah.
it was in a beautiful grounds of a museum about 20 miles from where I live. I really, like I said, I love that they do these activities with poetry.
Hmm.
Um,
It sounds like a lot of fun. And
yeah, yeah.
I read that you were the docent at Edith Wharton's summer home
Yes,
for a couple of years.
that's on the same grounds that we did the word by word.
Mm.
And that was from 2002 to 2006. And of course, you get a script kind of, or you can make one of your own, but you have to, make sure you hit all the highlights of her home, how she would decorate it, a lot about her writing, her years in Paris with Henry James, who she entertained at the summer home, because she lived in New York City and Paris. So, I think that's when I said to myself, like I said, I started getting more involved publicly with poetry in 2007. I left there in 2006. I said, if I can stand up there in front of 30 people and explain all the stuff about a writer, why can't I go out and read some of my poetry to the public? So it was a very good rehearsal for becoming a reader of my own poetry. And I'm very grateful I had that opportunity.
Hmm. I'm seeing almost every day, and seems like a new reading that you're going to be featured at. So you must be going to at least a couple of big readings, or some of them might be online. I'm not sure. Like every week. Tell me about that.
Well, some of it just snowballed over the summer. Well, I'll be honest with you. A year ago, October, which will be next month, I had my second of 2 knee surgeries. So I was kind of laid up when I first got granted my award. I couldn't do anything or go anywhere for a while. I mean, you have recovery. So all last winter, I pounded the pavement online and I wrote to all these places I know have feature readers. And I introduced myself and I said, I've seen so and so at your feed. So I probably contacted and had friends help me, locate maybe 20 to 40 venues. Some you hear back from, some you never hear back from. Some have it in their inbox for months and they finally get in touch with you. So by the time I actually started doing anything with the award I received in September to get a little more out there, it was already April of 2024. So over time, little by little, I kept getting asked to read here, there. And so I kept keeping myself a calendar. And then as I get into the summer, it's like everybody's piling it on right up until winter. And I'm like, I don't want to say no to anybody. I better do this. I had 6 months off because I was recovering. So I feel like my recovery time is now to get out there. So it's quite exciting. But I mean, I drove to Connecticut, so it's over 2 hours in each direction to be there 2.5 hours Sunday.
Mhm.
And everything I do is generally an hour plus. And if it gets to be like Lowell, it's 3 hours from me, I'll stay overnight. If I'm going to be on the East Coast, I live in Western Massachusetts, closer to New York State, then I do make a little tiny mini trip out of it. But I don't take a lot of so-called vacations. Poetry gives me excuse to have a little vacation. So yeah, so it's very rewarding because I would have never dreamed. I don't know how others reacted when they were told by the foundation. I was so touched and so humbled by it.
Mhm.
It almost makes me cry thinking about it.
Oh, yeah, it's a great honor,
Yeah,
because we've been working in poetry for quite a while, almost I'd say all of us, and to be recognized, and you don't have a clue it's gonna happen.
that's the beauty of it, right? It's not like that we threw our name in the ring. We didn't even know they were talking about us.
Yeah, we weren't out there campaigning or anything.
I know it.
Do you have a poem ready to read? And would you like to talk about your book?
Sure. So this is what it looks like. It's called If Brambles Were Bookends. And I wrote a poem about If Brambles Were Bookends, but out of all the poems I write, it's probably the most angsty, angry one. So I won't pick that one today, but it's a collected poetry book of probably going back more than 20 years. I mean, obviously I have like probably 3 times as many poems, maybe 4 times as many that are in here. And I was in a big rush with Paul Word Richmond, who is also the beat poet for life of the United States. He has, it's Human Error Publishing. Paul owns it. And I said, Paul, I got to do something. It's the summer of 2023 and I got to accept an award. You've got to help me. And I knew nothing about publishing, not anything other than submitting to an anthology and maybe they take your poem. So it was all a learning curve for me. I don't have a long history of being a beat poet and traveling other than what you know about recently. So it was very exciting. I'm very indebted to him for putting up and having patience with me because I was so green at this. And he did a very nice job. And the woman who made this artwork is from Ohio and she did a nice job. So you have to know I spent quite a bit of time saying, what kind of poem should I read when I get interviewed? I don't know what kind of poem anybody wants to hear. So I decided I was going to stick with one that has a little social justice in it and one that's ekphrastic. And what it was artwork that was online. And I was asked to submit a poem after looking at it. So I want to tell you a little bit what it looks like because I don't have the picture of it. So what it was a squared in type of poster. It was black and white. And there was the word matter was in all different directions, across it, diagonal, upside down, spelled backwards. And some white was seeping through. And it was done by a high school art student. And he put his art piece in the ring. And I said, if I'm going to submit something, I like that one. I can glean a lot from it. So this is what I wrote about the matter poster, and I named it It's what the sign says. Ekphrastic from Sidney Gauthier, he's the artist, art form, and he titled it Hierarchy. The sign's message, one duplicated word, superimposed upon itself like dead matter, makes it clear that the black ink leaves smatter. The artwork evokes untold chatter. An ability to stay politically correct, is that what really matters? Why did it lead to a throng who scatters? Don't allow an obscene blather. Don't leave a body in a tatter. This message was not meant to go rogue or shatter. The sign repeats gets exponentially fatter. A message to enhance the ages. Offer advice like sages. Located on a map, no more cages. No blame or digressions. No reason for enrages. Let the sign sing with a multitude of voices. It's a civil liberty deserving of all people's rejoices. It's because Gauthier's art form hierarchy was created. It moved me like the poetry of Amanda Gorman. The word matter just a prompt to try and explore it. Here I write and expound on ideas, notions. All I'm really trying to emphasize is dignity, devotion.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
And you have one more?
Oh, sure. So this one is it's a quirky little thing. So I'll read it because I haven't read it in a while and I like it. It's about a book. Secret of Swirl. The ending circled back to the middle. No one can read an absent beginning. The bookmark's smudge, dust cover, fantastical abstract swirl never connects. Infinitesimal faith in its art. It's the cracked spine that caused all this controversy in the first place. It detached itself during decades past. Someone mentioned a leveler. Fallacies remain unspoken. There is a title and author on the back cover. I thought it proper on the front. Was it superimposed from the front before the front came up missing? The dust cover survived the years. I daydream, create the beginning story. A swirl sets a stage for every lost page before the detachment. Please beg my pardon. I must write carefully as not to reveal entirely the secret of swirl.
Okay.
My phone's ringing here. Well, I'm just going to turn it off.
Yeah. Well, we're just now ending. Thank you so much, Linda, for sharing with us.
Oh, well, you're welcome. And I adore you. And I wish I could meet you live and in person because you're such an active poet laureate. And we will all be reading in October together, I think. You and I and Debbie and Paul on Zoom.
Oh, the George Wallace's thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yes,
I look forward to that. Okay.
yes, I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
So thank you. See you
Thank you.
next time.
Bye.
Bye.